We will discuss about the employer responsibility, and as per the syllabus requirement, we have considered the significant points with reference from the ILO.org. As per the Article 16 of C155, C is Convention number 155, the employer shall be required to ensure that the workplaces, machinery, equipment, and the process under their control are safe and without risk to health. So this is the duty of employer that all the workplaces, machinery, equipment and process should be safe and should not be able to create any type of risk to the workers. The employer shall be required to ensure that any chemical, physical and biological substances or any type of their agents which are under their control without risk to health should be available. So worker will not get any hazard from the chemical substances, physical substances or biological substances or any other type of their agents wherever when the appropriate measures of protection to be taken by the employer. The employer shall be required to provide adequate protective clothing and protective equipment to prevent risk of accident or of the adverse effect on health of the workers. The further responsibilities has been described in point 10 of R164. R164 is recommendation of ILO, recommendation number R164, which is point 10 clearly mention about the obligation placed upon the employer. So it is the duty of every employer to provide and maintain workplaces, machinery and equipment and use work methods which are as safe and without risk to health as is reasonable practicable to be considered. Further in point B, it is the employer responsibility to give necessary instruction and training taking account of the functions and capacity of different categories of workers. It is the employer responsibility to provide adequate supervision of work practices, and of application and use of occupational health and safety control measures. In the point D, it is clearly mentioned that employer responsibility is to institute organizational arrangement regarding occupational safety and health and the working environment adapted to the size of the undertaking and the nature of its activities. In the point number E, it is the employer responsibility to provide without any cost to the worker adequate personal protective clothing and equipment which are reasonably necessary when hazard cannot be otherwise prevented or controlled. In the point number F, the employer responsibility is to ensure that work organization, particularly with respect of hours of work, like 8 hours working per day, and rest break, like after every 4 hours, the lunch break, like does not adversely affect occupational safety and health of the workers. The employer responsibility to take all reasonable practicable measure with a view to eliminating excessive physical and mental fatigue, like we should not overload to the worker, or if they are involved into the manual handling activities, we should not tell them to lift the 100 kg cement bag in one time without the any mechanical help or without the help of any another worker. In the point number H, the employer responsibility to undertake study and research or otherwise keep abreast of the scientific and technical knowledge necessary to comply with the foregoing clauses. Now we can summarize the employer responsibility as per the ILO requirements and the other legal requirements. So it is the employer duty to provide or to ensure the safe system of work, to provide the safe processes, to provide the safe plant, safe equipment, and safe machinery, and to provide the safe place of work, safe access and egress like entry and exit, for example, like confined space or any other hazardous place. It is the employer duty to provide safe working environment with adequate welfare facilities, like to provide the all welfare facilities like such as toilet, washing facilities, drinking water, etc. It is the employer duty to provide safe use, handling, transport, and storage of substances and articles. It is the employer duty to provide adequate health and safety information to employee, if applicable, to others like self-employed workers and their employee who are sharing the same workplace, and parents of child employee, temporary workers and their contract agency or the contract workers, and new and expectant mothers and the young person. It is the employer responsibility to provide adequate health and safety instruction, to provide PPE free of cost. It is the employer responsibility to provide adequate and relevant health and safety training. It may include like induction training, job specific training, refresher training, provide health and safety training free of cost, provide job specific training, provide induction training, provide safe chemical substances and their agents. It is the employer responsibility to provide safe physical substances and their against any their agents are there, and provide safe biological substances and against their agents, the precaution to be considered. Employer responsibility to provide effective supervision, provide PPE free of cost, and the employer need to make the organizational arrangements in terms of health and safety. Employer responsibility to provide adequate and safe working hours like 8 hours working, and the employer duty to avoid giving excess workload or work pressure to the workers. It is the employer responsibility to provide adequate rest break and provide measure to avoid the mental fatigue, and to provide measure to avoid physical fatigue like reduce excessive physical and mental fatigue. If any heavy workload they are lifting, it can be divided into the multiple small load condition, or can apply the multiple workers to be deputed to lift the load. It is the employer responsibility to keep up to date with knowledge, undertake research to stay up to date. It is the employer responsibility to update health and safety policy. It is the employer responsibility to update health and safety procedures. It is the employer responsibility to identify reasonable foreseeable risk. It is the employer responsibility to provide reasonable practicable control measures like ALARP, alarm concept, as low as reasonable practicable to prevent any accident. It is the employer responsibility to develop a written safety policy together with organizational and other arrangements. If there are 5 or more employees, then it becomes a legal compliances for the employers as per the HASWA Act, Health and Safety Work Act 1974. It is the employer responsibility to do consultation with workers on health and safety issues as per HASWA Act 1974. It is the employer responsibility to do consultation with safety representative and formation of safety committee where they are recognized trade unions as per HASWA Act 1974. It is the employer responsibility to cooperate in health and safety matter with other employers who share the same workplaces as per the HASWA Act 1974. It is the employer responsibility to obtain the employer liability compulsory insurance and display the certificate as per the HASWA Act 1974. It is the employer responsibility to ensure that the organization has competent health and safety advice available. This does not have to be an external consultant. It may be the internal consultant also. or subject matter expert also as per the HASWA Act, and employ to be preferred or contract competent person to help them comply with the health and safety duties as per the MHSWR 1999 Management of Health and Safety Work Regulation Act. It is the employer duty to undertake or review or update suitable and sufficient risk assessment on the business activity that include detail of the required control measures. It is the employer responsibility to do the specific risk assessment. It is employer responsibility to ensure that relevant actions are taken following the risk assessment to prevent accident and ill health as per the HASWA Act 1974. It is the employer responsibility to avoid any type of enforcement action due to the accident or injury at their workplace. It is the employer responsibility to display the health and safety law poster or give workers a leaflet with the information. It is the employer responsibility to report certain work-related accidents, diseases, and dangerous occurrences to the legal or enforcement authority as per the HASWA Act. It is the employer responsibility to undertake preventative and protective measures on the basis of the principle of prevention as specified in Schedule 1 to the MHSWR Management of Health and Safety Work Regulation 1999 regulation. It is the employer responsibility to put in place effective arrangement for the planning, organization, control, monitoring, and review of health and safety measure in the workplace. Such arrangements should be recorded if there are 5 or more employees in the documented form to be kept by the organization as per the MHSWR Management of Health and Safety Work Regulation. It is the employer responsible to develop suitable emergency procedure, ensure that employee and other are aware of these procedure and can apply them as per the MHSWR 1999 regulation. It is the employer responsibility to provide health surveillance for employee under certain circumstances that outline in the MHSWR regulation 6. So by considering the employer responsibility points, we can answer the following question, like what are the main health and safety responsibility of employer as per the ILO convention C155? We can give the answer. What are the legal duties of an employer towards health and safety at workplace? So just now we have covered all the responsibilities of the employer. Simple question can be asked, what are the employer responsibilities? Or it can be asked like this, comment on the employer responsibilities. Or it may be asked like this, comment on the employer responsibilities which have been contravened, means not fulfilled by the employer. Comment on the employer responsibility which have been fulfilled as per the ILO C155 and R164. So we can give the answer of this question on the basis of the previous points. Thanks.